Hello and welcome to the Easy Odds Championship preview where my man Ross Casey is going to go through every single team and give you a tip for each
All
team.
24.
He's going to give you the price of that they are to, is it to get promoted or
To win the whole
league?
Win the whole league.
And just a little bit about the team if you wanted to decide you wanted to support one of the teams in the championship.
Just like we do.
But you didn't know anything about them.
Best league in the world.
Yeah. Oh, I can see Derby there already. 12-1. That's a beautiful price. So yeah, should we get started?
Yep, absolutely. As a Bristol City fan myself, really excited for the championship season, especially as Euro 2016 saw quite a few of our Football League men do pretty well in the Euros. In particular,
Jeff Hendrick.
Jeff Hendrick did very well. Robson Kanu. There was plenty of championship players that really impressed, including Musa Sissoko.
Yeah. Man of the match in the final.
Let's, without any further ado, look at some of the main contenders. In fact, all of the main contenders. And starting off, of course, favourites are Newcastle, 19 to 10 best price. Quite rightly favourites, in my opinion. They went down a few seasons ago under Chris Hughton, and then he brought them straight back up with a record total. They were absolutely brilliant when they went down last time, and that was because they kept a large majority of their better players. Andy Carroll really came to the fore that season. That was the season that he really had his breakout year, and they've bought some really good players this season already. They've already brought in Dwight Gale, who's going to score goals for fun in the championship. Matt Ritchie, both players who have already played championship football, so they're buying the right kind of player.
Yeah.
Players that I've tried to test it in that league, and they're going to add to an already really good squad that Newcastle have got. However, I wouldn't take them at 19 to 10. I'd actually wait until to see what they do at the start of the season, because when a team starts relatively poorly, maybe 3 or 4 games without a win, their price will drop a bit, and then you can get on it at a slightly better price. So I always feel that the favourites are slightly wrongly priced at the start of the season, and that would drop if they don't start off as the best team in the league. So I'd always wait a little bit if you're backing the favourite, and they are of course the favourites. So I would wait a little bit and wait and see what price they go down to after maybe 5 or 6 games. Depending on how well they're doing, of course. I wouldn't take them at 19 to 10. I just think it's a very short price.
No, definitely.
Next up is Aston Villa in the betting market, second favourites, which is remarkable when you think of how embarrassingly bad they were last season. But they've had a multitude of changes. Of course, Roberto Di Matteo is their manager now, Champions League winning manager at Aston Villa. Crazy stuff, just like when they had Gerard Houllier as well, and that didn't go too well.
They've had a good manager for ages.
for quite some time. So fingers crossed for you Villa fans that Roberto Di Matteo does the business for you. I do think that with him in charge and with the squad of players that they've got, they brought in Tommy Elphick, who was Bournemouth captain when they were promoted with a huge points total 2 seasons ago. He's a good signing. And I do think that they'll be there or thereabouts, and I think the 23 to 20 on them finishing in the top 6 is a decent value bet. 9 to 1 if you fancy them at the moment to win the whole thing. I'm not entirely sure that they will win the championship.
I think they're going to get relegated.
Well, you would as a Derby fan.
33 to 1. That's what the price is. Or earlier.
There you go. So those are the picks there. Norwich are next, the third and final relegated Premier League team. Norwich know the championship very, very well. They're a bit of a yo-yo club now. I would call them the new West Brom.
Oh yeah,
they are the West Brom of about 10 years ago, who were going up and down.
Weeby West Brom in the championship file.
Yeah, and they've kept a lot of their players. Nathan Redmond, of course, is a huge loss. He's gone off to Southampton in a big money move. He was probably their best player. But they've kept a massive core of their players, and those players pretty much got them promotion 2 years ago. So I can actually say that 10 to 1 on them to win the championship isn't a bad price at all. Okay. If you do fancy that, that's actually my tip on them. If you like of all the options, using easyodds.com, 10 to 1 on a Norwich championship win is actually a pretty decent bet.
Okay.
Moving on to your team, Derby.
The mighty Derby.
12 to 1.
1 to 4 on?
1 to 4 on, yeah. 12 to 1 for Derby. Nigel Pearson and Chris Powell. That is an excellent managerial pairing. Both managers who have managed at this level and in the Premier League, of course. They'll do really well for Derby, I think. And in my opinion, they're now even more of an attractive prospective club for transfer targets as well, with that pair of coaches involved. So for me, whilst they haven't really improved their squad currently, I think 6-5 on a top 6 minute finish is a really appealing bet.
Nigel Pearson's pretty scary though. I don't know if
It's a
I'd
scary
go
man.
that. Wouldn't really want him to be my manager, to be honest. Call me an ostrich.
It would call you an ostrich. Next up is Brighton at 14-1. They were really unlucky last season. They were such a good team to watch last season, and injuries and suspensions hurt them going into that match against Sheffield Wednesday, where they lost at Hillsborough, and that really cost them. They can count themselves massively hard done by, but can they bounce back and push on this term? The experienced duo of Sidwell and Glenn Murray are really good signings for them, I think, and that will add to an already really good squad. And they're actually my outside bet to win the championship this season.
Okay.
And you can get 6-1 on them to win, to be in the top 2. So either finish first or seconds. And I think 6-1 on Brighton to finish in the top 2 is a really good bet, because they proved last season that they're a real force in this championship, and they've added well to their squad. Haven't lost anyone, unlike a lot of the teams in and around the top of the championship who have lost their better players. They pretty much held on to everyone. So you can either get them 14-1 outright, or my tip for them, top 2 finish 6-1.
Okay, yeah, that's. I think top 2 finish 6-1 is good price. They're always there or thereabouts, pretty much. They had that one season where they weren't great, but they've been knocking on the door for a while now. They got. I think they've made the playoffs. They made it a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When Crystal Palace beat them, and Holloway said that excrement was spread in the in the change rooms. So
oh yeah,
none of that, Brighton.
I remember that. Oh yeah, we beat them as well. We beat them 4-1 semi-final.
There you go.
Final second leg.
So that's my tip there. Wolves are next. Wolves are on the brink of their takeover. There's been some crazy money bandied about. £21 million bid for a Benfica player.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's in a straight-up battle with Liverpool. Crazy world of football. And I would have to say I'm selling that at the moment I would stay well away from the 16-1. They had a pretty average season last season, and even though the takeover is just about to go through, they haven't had time to really improve the squad as yet. So basically, the bookies are placing them at 16-1, which is, what's that now, 6th favourites to win the championship, and that's basically based upon the takeover. But whilst the takeover hasn't actually happened yet, and the transfer window closes at the start of September, I don't think they've got enough time to bed in their new players that do come in, and I just don't fancy them at 16-1. So that's my tip there, is just to stay away from Wolves to win the championship at 16-1.
Don't go to Wolverhampton.
Don't go to Wolverhampton.
Didn't need to tell me to do that.
Next up is Sheffield Wednesday, who of course lost the championship final last season. Hull rightly won that game. I think Hull were the better team on the day, but they were another team who profited from a takeover last season, and they were much improved for it. They reached the championship playoff final, as I mentioned, and they've now added the goals of Stephen Fletcher, who we always laugh about him at Premier League level, even at Ligue 1 under at Marseille. He has struggled to be in the goals, but at championship level, there's every chance that that he can help them move even beyond their playoff final from last season. That's up in the air, of course. Rumoured wages of 35 grand a week sound a bit excessive for Stephen Fletcher, for me personally.
Stephen Fletcher is just daylight robbery.
Yeah.
Stealing money from teams.
But my tip for them is in the actual top Yorkshire team market. There's not many Yorkshire teams in the Championship. There's about 3 or 4 there, and they're a fairly short price, 10-19. And I think that's a really good price, because the closest to them this season is going to be Leeds. And Leeds, you can never quite count on them because of the off-the-field shenanigans. So 10-19 on Sheffield Wednesday to be top Yorkshire club is a pretty good price, I think.
Spent a lot of money though, Leeds, haven't they?
They have, yeah. Next up, we've got Cardiff, who are our best price, 33-1. The Bluebirds have now been managed by Paul Trollope, former Welsh coach. Russell Slater, of course, has moved down to League One. He's brought in a whole host of new faces in order to take over the playoffs a real go, and I think they won't actually reach the playoffs this time around. But 5-6 on them to finish in the top half looks a really decent bet.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, they were going really well at the start of last season, weren't they? And they dropped away really bad. They didn't score a goal for about 49 games.
It took them a while to score a goal, didn't it? So yeah, that's my tip there. Top half finish 5-6. Next up is Brentford, plucky old Brentford. They're actually a really, really good team. Just because they play at Griffin Park, they aren't really given the due that they are because they play in a small ground. But they're getting their new ground soon enough. And Dean Smith now is the manager, former Walsall manager, his first pre-season, so that would be a big plus for them. They ended the season really, really well under him after a pretty tepid start to his reign as manager. And it could be another good season in the Championship. I actually think 16-5 on them to be the top London club is a decent bet because QPR is still just a strange team, QPR. Moving straight on to QPR. 33-1 also, same price as Brentford to win the thing. Another London club, so they're in that London market. They've bought Championship stalwarts and impressive young players this summer, which is a wise move. They've pretty much shifted out all of their high earners, which is a wise move because those players didn't want to be playing in the Championship in the first place. No. And they were costing the club far too much money for not enough output. And I expect a more consistent season from the Hoops, but I'm not entirely sure that they will finish in the top half. So I'd actually lay that in the exchanges. I'd actually lay a top half finish for QPR.
Okay. Yeah, Jimmy Ford Hasselbank, I see him all the time.
There you go, your best mate.
I always see him in the coffee shop, getting coffee for everyone. Don't know why he does it himself. No idea why he does it himself. But yeah, on we go.
On to the next one. We've got Reading at 40-1. This is an interesting one, of course, because they've just employed Jaap Stam as their manager. He's never managed a team previously. He's been assistant at a few clubs, especially in Holland. So it'll be an interesting choice for a first timer, and he's brought in plenty of foreign talent into the Medeski this season. Can they adapt to the rough and tumble of a full Championship season? I'm not entirely sure. It's always an interesting thing. Last season, I doubted the fact that Sheffield Wednesday could manage it, and they proved that it can work. So I'm not saying that it's a definite bad move. So there's lots of questions moving into this season for the Royals. However, I just fancy them to get in the top half this year, and 11-10 is available in that market. Okay,
11-10, yeah, that's not too bad. Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. It's getting into big money now. I don't know about how well these teams are going to do. I think, Brentford to finish above QPR is quite a good bet, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, on we go.
On to the next one, and it's the first promoted team. It's Wigan, 40-1 best price. Will Grigg, of course, it is on fire. He's one of the best 25 players in Europe.
Always.
The Latics won League One pretty easily last season, but they faced a pretty challenging way back into the Championship, in my opinion. Gary Caldwell's still learning the ropes as a manager, and they've got a decent squad without it being too extraordinary. But I actually think this is a really strong Championship league this season, and they're the team that are most rated by the bookies. So straight away, I looked at the relegation odds for them, and they're 8-1 to be relegated. I think that's a really good bet. That's my bet for them. And I realised, Wigan fans, that you may well turn out to have a pretty decent season, maybe push on for the playoffs, maybe just be mid-table. But at that price, 8-1, that's a huge price in my opinion.
Yeah, that is a big price.
To be relegated. As I said, it's a tough league this year, and I just feel that's a really, really good price. 8-1 on Wigan to be relegated.
For a team that's just been promoted, 8-1 is massive.
Absolutely. Moving on, Leeds at 40-1. Bit more changes at Leeds. Cellino is just an absolute madman. The amount of sacrificial lambs that have come and gone through Leeds under his reign are absolutely crazy. And the latest man to arrive is Gary Monk, who did pretty well at Swansea in his first season and then fell away last season. And Leeds fans are feeling fairly confident about the appointment. They've also brought in quite a lot of good players, in my opinion. And I actually think this could be their best season for a long time, and a top half finish is more than achievable at a pretty decent price here of 11-8.
I think Leeds are going to do all right. I think 40-1 is an absolutely massive price. I mean, they almost definitely won't win it, but I could see them getting maybe top. I don't know, like top 6 isn't completely out.
Absolutely not.
Obscene. I don't know what price it is, but
11-8 they're on a top half finish. For that squad that they've got now with Gary Monk as manager as well.
They've brought in a lot of players.
Don't get me wrong, Leeds seem to always shoot themselves in the foot. So who knows? But 11-8 on a top half finish for me is the bet for them.
Yeah.
And their rivals, close rivals, Huddersfield are also 40-1. One of the least fashionable clubs, of course, in the Championship. And they did lose to a Liverpool team that played a sub goalie up front last night, which doesn't make too great reading. However, they have got David Wagner now, the former Dortmund assistant under Jurgen Klopp. He plays football in the right way. They play some really nice football. However, for me, they're still a work in progress, and I think 8 to 11 on them to finish in the bottom half is my best price tip for Huddersfield.
Okay, yeah. So Leeds and Huddersfield are going to be fighting it out. Who can finish above each other?
Absolutely. And next up is Fulham at 40 to 1. Well, I think I'm really interested in this season. Their pre-season form has been unbelievable. Last season, their defence was letting them down because the strikers, namely Dembele and McCormack, were banging in the goals. Yeah. But they still weren't winning games. They were losing like 3-2, 4-3. Yeah. They just couldn't keep a clean sheet to save their lives. So what they've done is bring in 3 new defenders to try and sort that out, including Callas from Chelsea, who I really, really rate. So I think they've also signed Sonny Aluko, who isn't too different a style of player to Dembele, but has got a far better attitude. Dembele's attitude towards the end of the season was just appalling. And I actually think they're going to have a pretty decent push for the top 6, and 4 to 1 on them to be in the playoffs this season is my tip for them. Okay. I actually think that they're going to have a really good season. They're quite far down the betting market, 40 to 1. 4 to 1 isn't a great price. I was expecting a bigger price in that market. But I just fancy them to be in the top 6 come the end of the season, and 4 to 1 is the price, so I'll take the 4 to 1.
Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go for the 40 to 1. Win the league. I'm not going for the 4 to 1, I'm going 40 to 1. Because 4 to 1 is pretty shockingly bad, isn't it?
It isn't a great price, but it's just what I fancy, so
exactly, yeah.
You have to take what you can get, unfortunately. Yeah. But that is the best price. There is even worse prices out there in the betting market. But for easy odds, you always guarantee the best one. Next up is my team, Bristol City, 50 to 1. Absolutely no way that Bristol City are going to win the league. As much as I love them, we're finally getting to play in our new improved Ashton Gate. It's going to be around 28,000 sellouts at Ashton Gate this season, which is going to be great. Really looking forward to that. We've signed up the ever popular Lee Tomlin, who was excellent on loan last season in a big money move. He's a massive signing for Bristol City, and we've also signed an Icelandic international in Hodor Magnusson from Juventus, which a few years ago, if you'd have told me that Bristol City were signing a player from Juventus, I'd have laughed at it, and I'm still laughing about it. But he's looking to cover the loss of Nathan Baker, who was pretty impressive on loan in centre defence for us last season. And I do think that we're a work in progress. I think we'll have a slightly better season than last season, where there was quite a bit of squeaky bum time near the bottom of the league, but I still think that will finish in the bottom half this season, which wouldn't be a terrible season as long as we stay in the league, in my opinion. Yeah. And 8 to 13 is available on Bristol City to be in the bottom half at the end of the season. That's my tip for Bristol City.
And I can do everyone can do the Viking charm.
We can do that, but I really hope that we don't.
Because you've got an Icelandic there. Everyone can do that Viking charm. You'll be the first team. I'm sure that Man City will do that first, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man City are going to nick that immediately in the first game of the season.
Although I have heard that the players have nicknamed him Magnus, which is quite good, as we're a club known for cider.
Oh yeah,
which is excellent.
Very good.
Next up are the Tractor Boys of Ipswich. First things first, Ipswich fans, if you place a bet on your Tractor Boys to win the league, 50 to 1 is the best price. Other bookmakers have them at 20. So if you are one of those people that just places a £10 bet on your team to win the league every season, make sure that you get the best price. Just like with Leicester fans back in their team last season, not every supporter managed to get the 5,000 to 1. Some people were offered 1,000 to 1, 2,000 to 1. Make sure that you get the best price, because there are some way better prices out there, and that includes for Ipswich to win the league at 50 to 1 rather than 20. Mick McCarthy is a good manager at this level. I expect them to be challenging for large parts of the season. I certainly wouldn't put you off backing them to finish in the top half yet again, and they're a best price of 11 to 8 there in the top half market. I think that's a decent price again. Ipswich, just perennial mid-tablers pushing towards the playoffs, and I think that's going to be more of the same yet again from Ipswich. Nottingham Forest, an interesting one. They've got a new manager that came in. Their chairman announced it on Twitter and then spelt his name wrong, which is a poor start to proceedings. However, there are reasons to be cheerful as a Forest fan, including the return to fitness of Britt Assombalonga, and I think that with Britt Assombalonga, you've got a real chance of having a top goal scorer in there and he's a best price of 20 to 1 at the moment to be a top goal scorer in the Championship.
He is an absolute beast.
And if he's back to his best, which is pretty good at this level, 20 to 1 could be a very good price.
I saw him play against Derby at Pride Park. No, the iPro. I mean, I saw him at the iPro and he was ridiculously good. He lost 2-1 last minute.
Oh, it happens to you all the time.
It's probably one of the worst days of my life.
Next up, we've got Birmingham, and believe you me, I was surprised at this. I really rate Birmingham. I think they're a really good little outfit. Really like Gary Rowett as a manager as well, and they're out here at 66 to 1 towards the bottom of the market. I just don't agree with that price. However, it is a pretty difficult league this year, in particular with the 3 teams that have come down.
Yeah.
So with that said, I do think that they'll just about finish in the bottom half. So if you're after a tip for Birmingham, my tip is for them to finish in the bottom half.
Okay.
Next up is Blackburn, who have just of course lost their captain Grant Hanley to Newcastle for a pretty big fee, £5.5 million being quoted.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. They've just appointed Owen Coyle as manager, which is a strange one, as he used to be the manager of Burnley. Obviously, they're big rivals. But they do have Danny Graham and Anthony Stokes as their strike force, which on paper is a really, really good Championship pairing up top. But I just see Blackburn as being one of those stagnant teams at the moment in the Championship that are just kind of treading along, and I think that's actually the reason that Paul Lambert left, wasn't it? Because there wasn't enough ambition from the board. No. And I can just see them yet again kind of trundling along and just about finishing in the bottom half again. So they'll probably have a worse season than Birmingham. As I said, I do quite like Birmingham, but I don't think Blackburn will get relegated. But I think a bottom half finish for them again.
Okay,
is my tip.
Yeah.
Preston is the next one. Preston impressed in the first season back in the Championship, and they'll look to finish in the top half again. However, as I said, it's a much tougher league, in my opinion, this time around, and they're another team to back in the bottom half market for me. And next up are the unstoppable force that are Barnsley. Their 2016 so far has been absolutely unbelievable. If you looked at the League One table around about Christmas time, they were just short of the relegation zone, and somehow they got promoted. It was unbelievable, their form in 2016, and I think that's going to be key for them. I can see them having a really good season up until Christmas, and then how that goes from there will be dependent upon how well they do overall.
They need to continue their form.
Absolutely.
Keep their heads up.
Absolutely. So I'm going to stay away from them in terms of a bet at the moment, just to see where they are around about Christmas time.
Yeah.
Just as they started so well, I do expect them to finish so well. Sorry, last season. I do expect them to start so well this time around. Finally, the penultimate team that we're going to look at are Alan Stubbs' Rotherham. He's got a real tough first job in England because he's got to follow Neil Warnock, who did an unbelievable job at keeping Rotherham up. I was almost certain that they were dreaded for the drop, but he somehow managed to turn them around. They played some horrible football under him. They were hard to beat, but they kept them up.
They beat a lot of high.
They were one of the form teams coming in the season.
They beat like Derby, and I think they beat. I think they beat Middlesbrough as well.
Yeah, they pretty much beat everyone.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it's a hard act to follow, in my opinion. And for me, I think losing Warnock is absolutely massive for them. As much as I like Alan Stubbs as a player back in the day, and also as a manager up with Hibs, I just think it's going to be a tough season for them. They struggled 2 seasons in a row now, and I think it could be third time lucky or unlucky for them. And I just fancy them for relegation this season.
Okay.
And finally, plucky old Burton. Burton have done unbelievably well to be in the Championship. They've just risen from absolutely nowhere.
2009, I think they're in the conference.
Yeah, they've just been unbelievable. They've made some pretty decent signings actually. The likes of Chris O'Grady's a pretty decent signing. And if they can make the Pirelli Stadium a fortress, because that's one of the stadiums that these big Championship players aren't going to enjoy playing at. If they can make that a fortress, then I can see them causing a surprise, and proof of that is the fact that Stoke went there in pre-season and lost. So I would say actually at the odds I would lean towards a no bet with them, because the relegation market has them as big odds-on favourites to be relegated.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure that in their first season that they will go down.
No.
So for me, I'm just a no bet on Burton. And if you do fancy the absolute shock of the century, they are a best price of 200 to 1, which is crazy when you think it's a 24 team league, and Leicester were available at 5,000 to 1. Burton 200 to 1.
Yeah. Certainties compared to Leicester.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's my overall view of each of the 24 teams in the Championship. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, easyodds.com on YouTube. Next week I will be going through all 20 teams in the Premier League.
The big one.
The big one. So thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to tune in next week for that, as well as Jake Jones's views on the latest and biggest horse racing. Yeah. So thanks very much for watching. I'm Ross Casey, and this is Jake Jones.
Bye.